Okay. Welcome to another Live Solutions on Fridays, as usual. Um, if you are new to this is. Oh, okay, here's talking the man. This is a place for you to give me your questions, really, about what's on in the week, um, about any advice that you have in mind, really. I can tell you this is the place for attend like it is, like a class, really. I wanted to make it like this. It's just making a conversation and a more educational approach into what this instrument is. I have guitar over there. Unfortunately, I don't have drums with me, but I think I can give you an answer, or most of the time my opinion. You should always think of what I say more like my opinion on the subject than any other thing, about anything, about theory, about music in general. I don't know. So here it is. We have some people: Brandon Elliott, Felipe Guzman, Victor Marquez, Marty McHay says, "Love your taps, thanks." Alejandro Flores, pronto haré otro en español. Ha sido bien visto ese en español, así que voy a hacer más de seguro. But we are now in English. I'm trying to make it a little bit. Always, I know I have some people that comes here and you are Spanish speaking people like me. Really, I'm not from America. You can notice, really, for my accent. But I'm trying to divide those places. So maybe once a month I'm doing one in Spanish, and this is more like for people that understand a little bit of English. But I think either of those two works for any one of us. It's all about this. So let me know if you can hear me correctly and if you can hear the instrument over here. And we can start. Okay, there's always an issue with delay that if you are experiencing some of it, you can let me know so I can maybe fix something. I don't know. The thing about the face reveal, it's no secret. Okay, you can watch my whole face in the in the band channel that I have. It's called Ineres, or maybe INHERES if you spell it. It's recommended in the channel, and there I am. And for the 200,000 subscribers live stream in this channel, actually I made a thing in which there was just my face. So there's no face reveal. Okay, you can watch me if you want to. Try not to touch yourself too much, really. Hello again, teacher. I wanted to ask you about reharmonization. I read the thing said that if you play an A over a C chord, it completely changes the chord. Can you elaborate? Yeah, I really like that question, actually. So we can start. Before that, I'm going to keep it in mind. But I think I have some things that I forgot to tell. I don't know. Yeah, about socials, really, you can check me out on Facebook for knowing when this one is coming. But it's usually Fridays, about 3 Eastern time for you Americans. and for all of us to understand a little bit about the time zones. It's difficult because this channel, I think it's quite universal. It has become, and I really like that, of course. It's not just for one type of people or one type of language, really. But you know about English, it has come to a place in which we all have to know a little bit of it. So, yeah. So I'm going to go over that question in a while. After that, I'm going to say a little bit of the frequently asked things, so you don't repeat yourself. I'm not from America, as I said. I'm from Chile. I've been playing for about 7 years, probably. This instrument is the one and only instrument that I only ever had, actually, in bass. I use no pedals, no amps, and I go into the computer with an interface. And many other things that you maybe are going to ask again. So why do I bother, really? Oh yeah, if you want to have a more a really detailed answer on whatever topic you want, I have activated super chat in case you want to support me with whatever you can, really, and also in PayPal in the description. You have other option of that. I'm never trying to take advantage of whatever people that I have, but for the ones that know me for a while, you know that all of this has become to a place just because of people, really. So I really thank you if you want to help me, being on Patreon, or maybe helping me over here, or only watching, or maybe buying a t-shirt. Actually, I have a t-shirt that you can buy in the description, and I like it. It's not that bad. So, about that question, I'm going to try, as I did the last week, trying to give a little bit of organization over here about what I'm going to talk. So I'm going to give a title over here that kind of like helps people to surf in the hours of content that we have over here. I'm going to try to do it because I usually answer a lot of questions, so I'm going to maybe highlight the most important. I don't know, but reharmonization, as I don't remember your name, but you said it. When Sting, I think I actually heard about that, and he talked about how being in control of the melody and the bass in his case, because many artists actually are bassist, and they tend to go into the melody also. They try to sing. There you have a lot of examples that you can name in the comments, really, of bassists that sing. And if you have ever tried that, you will know it's quite difficult to do. It's and the reason because that is really difficult is because you have different roles, really. Melody accomplishes a different role that bass in most of the cases. Okay, bass can go into the melody, and I don't know if the voice can really go into the bass, but you have difficult things and rhythmically different things usually. Okay, so it might be really difficult to sing and to play bass at the same time. But when you do it, and when you try to do it, and you control a band like that, you really are giving control of the whole harmony. Because when you have a C major chord, for example, I don't know, the mission here on the bass, and people don't understand that the most important role of bass, and people that always take shit on on the role of bass because they are just only doing one thing and it looks easy or whatever. but really you have the power of changing the inversion of a chord. Okay, when I'm talking about inversion of a chord, it's just this. Okay, I have a C major and I can choose between putting my bass in C, that would be the the tonic or the first note of the triad, okay, of C, E, G, that conforms a C major chord. So you have the option of putting the bass in C. You have the option of putting the bass in E or in G. Okay, when you put it in C, it's called first inversion in most of the cases. Okay. No, I mean it's just the root. First inversion is in E. Okay. If you put it in E, actually you're changing a little bit of the quality of the chord. Okay, because when you root yourself playing a C with the C in the bass, you're giving it more weight. Okay, you're standing it more in ground. You're saying to the world, really, you're in C. You're going into C. But if you're playing your bass, for example, on the first inversion or here in E, you change a little bit of the quality, and it's a little bit less going into the resolution of the harmony. Okay, and even more if you're playing with your bass in G, that might come a little bit actually a little bit uncomfortable to do. But those are your options when you're playing. Okay, if you see someone playing an E minor, you have all the options over here. You have the option of playing just the root, okay, or you can go over here, or you can go over here, tonic, the first inversion, or second, just going around the chord, the notes that conform that chord. And the other interesting thing with bass, of course, is that you can make a reharmonization, but outside of those three notes, or whatever notes that are making the chord that you're currently trying to play. So yeah, if I play if a guitar plays a C major, for example, sorry, you have the C major over here, and imagine if you're in bass and you decide to play an A. Okay, an A, it's not in the harmony, so you're making a new type of harmony, really, because you're making this, really, and you're mixing it up with there's the full harmony if you're playing with the bass on A and then the other notes on top of it. So what you're creating here, you're transforming this major C major chord into an A minor 7, really, because you're making it A, C, E, and G. And that is an A minor 7 chord. So you have a lot of power, and you need to understand that you have a lot of power in creating harmony. You can switch the role of a different chord by doing different inversions, or you can actually switch the whole harmony by adding weight below all the chords that you're doing. Okay, and that's a really important tool that I don't see many bassists actually doing in some cases, and it's really interesting. Okay, it's just taking control over what the song is, really. And of course, if you're doing that and also singing, you have complete control on harmony. You can even don't care really about what a guitarist or a keyboard player is doing, because you can confront more of the harmony by knowing. Okay, I tend to like to just play around, I don't know, the same C major chord, and I tend to try to play notes that are good in that harmony, but are not really played in any other instrument with my bass. For example, playing a, when I play this over this chord, this note, it's really the ninth of the chord, so I'm adding a new note that creates more tension in the bass, and that adds into the color of the harmony. Okay, after I do that, it's never again a C major chord. It's really a C major ninth, and it's part of the harmony. So you can create a lot with your instrument. Okay, with bass, and many people tend to think you're just limited to one thing. Okay, so practice that. If you have whatever band or whatever friend guitarist, or maybe playing around any song, and you know this chord that is coming is maybe a G, I don't know, or G minor, I can go and experience knowing a little bit of theory. Okay, knowing what notes are compounded in each chord. For that, I really need to know about a little bit about chord tones, arpeggios, or whatever you can name it, a little bit about harmony, of course, but first of all, knowing the notes of your chord, and then trying to experiment. This is not that difficult to experiment. Okay, I don't like it when people state that you should maybe be that conscient about what you're doing. Okay, I really like when people also are not that aware of what they are doing, but they are trusting their ears in a way, and that it's quite powerful, I think, because trusting your ears might be tricky, might be not a thing in which you can trust, but those errors and those little boldness, and that little boldness that you can have with your hearing, and not thinking about, okay, I'm breaking that rule, I can't do that. Don't go over that. Okay, that's not part of creation, really, for me. That's my opinion, of course. Okay. I think we went past through a little bit of the reharmonization part. Okay. So again, sorry if I'm skipping a lot of questions. Please try to ask them again if you want to, if you think it's important, because I can't look at the screen and try to play and many things. I have many things in my head when I'm doing this, really, because I have to speak in English. It's not my native language. I have to see if everything's okay or hear playing. It's interesting. It's really fun. But yeah, so that's it about reharmonization. As I said, try to go into a song and apply that. And when you create a song, try not to just go into the tonic all the time. The tonic being the first note of the chord. Okay, the tonic, it's always the note, the name of the chord. The note that gives the name of the chord is the tonic. Okay, so if you're a bassist and you want to go in the way, you really can just see in a chart the first the name of the note, and you can go and play, really, and that it's rich in a way that you can already play if you see just the name of the notes, and you know the name of the notes, and you go and okay, here's a C, and I play just this. Okay, what's the bad thing about it, really? I don't know. it's not about being better or worse by just knowing more of the harmony and knowing how to create a more advanced, probably a line or a line that covers most of the harmony. You can do great things just by applying a good rhythm with just tonics, you know. And you have many examples about it. Marty Mathai says, thanks for doing this. It is super helpful to hear from skilled bass players. I might say I don't consider myself an expert or even that skilled, really. But the thing about teaching and the nice thing about it is that you can, with the knowledge that you have, you can try to reformulate it a little bit and try to explain it in other ways. And I'm going all for that, okay? I'm going all for the lessons over here, okay? Not trying to show off, not trying to say I'm the best. But I thank you if you think like that. Okay. Enough with reharmonization. Let's go for other question. I actually have one over here. Daniel Murphy, does learning by yourself have a real effect versus by teacher? I learned by myself, and there are still things I don't know. Is what you want and how you go at it, but would have loved a teacher for bass. Okay. Maybe in other times, you know, in other times of history, having a tutor, a teacher, it might have been really important, I think, because first you were not in a community by yourself. You were just a player. You needed to go into a community of players to go into learning something. Maybe something more advanced, of course. You will always need to go into a higher level. You will probably need a kind of support of a teacher. But with the things about information, really, I am actually going around a little bit to the other side. I think with opportunities like having people teaching you, you know, in front of a screen, and you trying to go over a lot of teachers, because going into one teacher is always really bad, I think, because you're only having one opinion. So you have I've come to think that you should have less idols. I think less idols in a matter of fandom or whatever, and more teachers. Okay, for me, when I'm trying to play a song, I'm trying to figure out what's the original basis of this song trying to do. I'm really thinking of him as a teacher. Okay, anyone can teach me something now because I have the opportunity to know what exact position notes he's doing, how is he approaching this, and that's why I think I value the thing that I do, really. And I value the things that many other bassists on YouTube are now doing, because you can form a lot of experience and knowledge, and that's most of the role of a teacher, I think. But now you have the thing that you need to give all that knowledge a use, and for that you really need, I think more important than having a teacher is having a band, really. Whatever band you're in, I think will help you in much better ways now in this era than having a teacher, because you need a place in which to deposit all of your thoughts, all of your new ideas, in a way, and to give it into practice. Of course, you can do that even now on the internet. Okay, people tend to demonize, in a way, the help of a good teacher on YouTube and trying to say, okay, no, this is not that great, it's not that professional or whatever. But I don't think it goes over there. I forgot to add my text over here. Let's say this is a teacher versus no teacher or something like that. But yeah, that's my opinion really. I gotta say I never had a bass instructor, a bass teacher really. I had teachers on a guitar for a while. I had teachers, but I think I had an acoustic guitar teacher, electric guitar teacher when I was about 12 or 15 or something like that. And I think that was really important because it having a teacher in a more formative place of your life will do many other things, but not maybe in the knowledge that you can forget or whatever. It's more in the motivation of doing something with profession. Okay, like it is to play and trying to be constant and whatever. But you have many examples of people that never even touched the experience of a teacher, and they just went and play and created their own language. Okay, that's for me really the most valuable thing that you can achieve. Okay, and you can create your sound, and you have examples, of course, a lot of on rock, and many times rock tends to go in a really advanced level of maybe not harmony, but in melody wise, you have a lot of things that even the most skillful jazz player maybe couldn't even think about. Okay, you have different ways into coming for the knowledge, but we all can go from that ways into the same place. Okay, it's no different. You need to do what you like in the process. That's the important thing. Okay, but it's my opinion. I think it's more common to say, okay, you need a teacher, you need it, but how much do you need it really? We are in a world in which we are trying to limit ourselves from experience, really, because we have so much experience flashing into our eyes now with information, with videos and whatever, with YouTube. Really, I think I learned much more with watching YouTube that in college days, or maybe not in college days, but in school days for sure. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to go into another thing in the meantime, okay? So, I like it when you make conversation over here, especially when you're trying to give help to some people. About the question before, Daniel Murphy says, me and my buddies have our band. We mainly play covers, but we have stuff we've written. Always supported of each other. That's really important, man. And playing covers at the first time will give you some idea of what you're aiming to do in a way. It's not a bad idea. But try to go more into creating. I think the experience that comes from creating in the rehearsal room or whatever, making that creative process and discussion and things will give you more. I think a little bit more democracy into your band. But of course, I gotta say, for example, for my band, I tend to go more in a solo way when I'm composing. Actually, I usually go and create the whole song in my head and then deposit it into writing it, and then there it is. And then the discussion comes from the basis of having the whole thing done in more of or an aspect of a re-instrumentation, or maybe in aspects of a arrangement. But that's a thing that it's great when you know a little bit how to write, because you can how to write for each instrument that you have in your band. That's really important. That's why I tried to go into a little bit of the realm of drums and the realm of guitar that I had from even before this. But knowing that things will help you understand the possibilities of the other instruments and create the whole thing. Jordan Wall says, "What's some tips to mastering patterns of Metallica covers?" Cliff Burton. That's, I don't know how to say it. But you have a lot of technique, special things that Cliff did, and that were really interesting. I think the most important tip would be to build a lot of stamina for that, because when I played each of the Cliff songs that I have on the channel, I think I confronted a lot of strain when I'm playing with my right hand. So this needs to be a little bit relaxed, and you need to know a little bit about what you're doing, especially when you're playing fast. And I don't know now. I think I maybe had to go into an example for that. But yeah, technique about right hand, I think it's a little bit more important. Okay. I think Cliff, he really has a more guitaristic approach. That is not bad. Okay, it's not bad. But if you tend to think about it more like that, it might give you a more different view, probably. You know any bass players who never used the pinky? I played for years and never have. Okay, I like this. I like this. I'm actually going to name this pinky. Why it's important, I think. I know many bassists that they are not using it, until some point. It's your choice, of course. It is a thing of your choice, but it's more like thinking, okay, I don't know how to compare it, but if you have an extra limb and you're not using it, you're kind of like not making honor to your whole body. Okay, if I had a third arm, maybe I would use it. Okay, because it might give me more easy ways to do things, really. But the thing about about using this finger is that some people I don't think they have it that well prepared, and don't have the will to think of it as an equal finger as the other three. So for that, you really need to build up from the first time you're playing, from the roots of your knowledge, trying to use it as if it was another finger, that it is a little bit more painful to use, probably a little bit more difficult to create strength on it. But after you go into that pain and that suffering, you will get a new type of option to do things and do things more properly, I think, for bass, especially because for bass you have to take advantage of your reach, because this is a wide instrument. So for me, it's better in position to do something like this. I don't know, than trying to do something like this. Okay, I'm actually losing my comfortable grip when I'm doing this. I'm stretching too much. I'm not comfortable with this. But if I do this, I can do this the whole day, you know. Because I've come to acquire a little bit of strength over here. So I think it is really important. But I've seen a lot of bassists not using it, and that comes into a little bit of a battle with my opinions, because in one or other way, having limitations will give you new types of creativity, of course. But in a more standardized, or maybe more technical and more advanced type of advice, I would say it's important to use the little finger or a pinky, or whatever you want to name it, okay? Because it will give you more opportunities to do other things. So I really would recommend it. Exercises that I could tell you probably for making a good pinky strength, and that would be just trying to do something like this, probably making it all minor thirds, for example, from A, index, and then on the 4th fret from the index you have your pinky, so you go. I don't care if it sounds bad, but it's an option of an exercise, and trying to make this note sound as equal as this one, okay? The same strength, the same volume, the same everything. Because if you're going to use this finger and it's going to be shed, maybe don't use it, okay? Or maybe something more pentatonic. No. Maybe something like that. Okay? And of course this exercise. That will make you a little bit of the practice of understanding that you need to fix your positions and try to use blocks of 4. You're always trying to do blocks of 4 frets that will give you this this comfortable position, okay, in which you're using one finger per fret. I really couldn't imagine my type of playing without using the little finger, especially with some extreme things that I do, that maybe something like that, in which I'm uncovering the root, the 5th and the 9th. That would be impossible for me to do like this. So for reaching new notes, it's really important also. But it's never late for you to acquire new tendencies in instrument. It might be more difficult because when you're young, in whatever type of education, you are more flexible, and you have and you're more influential, influenced by the knowledge that people try to stick into you, and that is not that great in some cases. It forms you in a way, but you need to have teachers as you need to have parents in most of the case. But going back into the teaching thing, if you have parents that give you all the opportunities for you to understand things, for you to go into it, and not saying you should do this, that's the teacher that you really want. So that's why I like to say always, everything that I say, it's a recommendation to do, for you to consider. This will may this help me in my thing. If it does, maybe take it, and if it doesn't, maybe don't. Okay. In a way, it's a lot. Education is a lot like parenting. I'm not a parent, but it is really. Okay. So try to listen to your teachers, but also try not to. Okay. Try to break some rules. Okay, that's enough with the pinky. How are we doing? As you see, I'm trying to be a little bit more detailed, probably with one thing, so we have more coherence, probably on people, especially that come from that comes after this is done, and they search and they say, okay, I want to know about this, so I say, I put it in the title, and with this maybe you can have more of an idea of it. So if someone want to make actually time marks, I would appreciate it so much. I don't think I have the time for that. Maybe I have, I don't know. Maybe it's not that difficult. I'm going to think about it. How long have I been playing bass? About 7 years, and I don't have a favorite. Okay, I don't talk about favorites because I don't have them. I have more influential, probably, music in me, but I wouldn't say a favorite, because I don't want to make a hierarchy in music on whatever thing, really. And it's not a thing about okay, you don't have a taste. Yeah, I do have a taste. I can say something is bad or not for me, but I wouldn't dare to say I have a favorite band, because that just puts you in a place that you have to defend. You have to defend your position of having the favorite band, and everyone will know you in a way, because he's the Muse guy, he's the Radiohead guy. I don't want that. Okay, it's not a good idea for me. What kind of camera do you use for recording the video? It's a Canon T5i, I think. Yeah, T5i Canon. It's a usual DSLR that you can use for YouTube things, and that's not for this. For the live stream, I'm using a webcam, actually, because the thing about streaming is really difficult to use your main camera. You need other type of software, and you really need a good computer. And with this, I just have the video, and it's less quality, but I think it's enough. The lighting does a lot, really. When people say the camera and whatever, but lighting, it's really important if you want to record something. I don't know anything about really about audio. I mean about visual technique, or maybe, I don't know. I need to know a little bit more about that. But my thing, visually, it's simple. I just want to have the best angle and best definition, and the 60 frames. I really appreciate it, because it gives you more reality in what I'm playing. Okay, David CM. I think you have another one. What's the best way to learn chord construction? Okay, let me think about it. Okay, I'm going to try to do. I really need a board. I always say I need those digital boards in which I can write something, because I have things in my mind that I need to write. But let's say like this. Chord construction. Let's go over here. So chords are always determined by the key, really, and you should understand that also. But if I were to say to you only how to build chords in bass, we can have that example, really. Okay, just by knowing your intervals. Okay, that's really important. First of all, knowing what intervals are. Okay, intervals are distances between notes. That's everything. Now you can go into Google or whatever and search about music intervals, and you will be confronted with all the type of music intervals, note intervals, really. So I can name them to you in a matter of a bass, just by going into the chord construction thing. When you have two notes the same pitch, you have an unison. That's the first interval. Then you are going into distances by little to longer. That's everything again. So if you go from this D, let's say it's a C. If you go from this C into this note, you have a minor second. It's just a difference of a semitone or a fret in bass, of course. You have then the major second. That's 2 frets of difference, a whole tone. Okay, there you have the difference between a whole tone and half tone. Okay, now you're having the minor third. The minor third is that distance in bass. Okay, it's 3 frets, 4 frets for the major third. Okay, and then you have the others that I'm not going to go into that much, because I want you to know about the thirds. The thirds will make chords, really. Okay, in a really basic way. Of course, you have more than that, but the construction of chords goes always over thirds from the note that you want to choose. So you have a minor third and major third. You can create that difference. Now then you have the fourth and the tritone, or augmented fourth, or diminished fifth. Then you have the fifth, the the minor sixth, major sixth, the minor seventh, major seventh, and finally the octave. Okay, those distances you really need to understand in the instrument. Okay, besides everything that we're talking, you really need to understand first of all the placement of the octave. We all know it, and from that the fifth, the fourth, all of those intervals you need to understand to apply in bass more than everything, I think, because that's your main cell to understand a lot of things. Intervals, go into them. Okay, and yeah, the thirds will make you the chord, really. So if you have a major chord, will always be composed by a major third and then a minor third. So you have a C and a major third from C, that would be over here. You can count it by frets actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, or maybe you can actually think about it more in a way of tones and semitones. That's the most important thing to understand. Okay, a major third from C, it's always 2 whole tones. Okay, and a minor third from C, it's just a whole tone and a semitone. Okay, that's a good separation to understand, really. But then again, going into C major, you have to build up from C, a major third, and then a minor third to make the compensation of it. That's all in one string, but you can make it in 2. And then you have a shape that is important again on bass to understand, because this shape will be repeated throughout the whole fretboard, really. Okay. And that's a major chord. For a minor chord, you have the opposite, really. You're beginning with a minor third, and then you're completing with a major. And here's another shape. The minor third, and then you go over the major. Okay, so tip to understand this is knowing 2 types of approach of the major and minor third here on the bass. You have, from whatever note, from C you have a minor third, you have it like this, or over here with B or with A. Okay, and you can have it over here, and you will be always choosing between those 2. And for the major third, you have this, or this. Okay, important, really important. So after that, you know actually how to build whatever major or minor chord. Diminished chords are just 2 minor thirds actually. And augmented chords are 2 major thirds. And they are not that common to use compared to major and minor chords. Okay. And after that, you have you are building up and making more and more chords depending on the context, of course. There's not only a major and minor chords. When you have 7th involved, you're just adding another third, but it's not better to think about it that way. It's better to think about the same 2 thirds, but with an added 7th. And to think about this, the 7th is I think for me, it has always been helpful to think about it just from the tonic or from the octave. For example, for a C major 7 chord, you have again, what you have? Maybe I could ask you if you were here present. What do you have if you have a major chord? You have a major third and then a minor third, of course. So you have that. Major then minor. And to build a major 7 chord, you need a major 7. That's why is it called that way. Any chord that's Mach 7 or major 7 contains a major 7th, and any chord that is just 7 contains a minor 7th. Okay, so a C7 contains a minor 7th, and a C major 7 contains a major 7th again. So a major 7th is just a semitone behind the octave. So you have here C, the octave of C is here, and you have this note. This B is the major seventh from the original C. Okay, it's just one semitone until getting into the octave. And there it is. This is the quite dissonant major seventh if you play it like this. But if you add the other notes, okay, you have that dissonance covered by the whole thing, and you have a major 7 chord. Again, if you want to make this chord 7, you just go and play this over here. So you have a whole tone of difference between the octave and the 7th, and that interval is a minor 7th. Major 7th, seven, major 7. Okay, very important to add to the shapes. It's understanding why are you doing those shapes. Okay, maybe most of you know that you can make a major chord. You know, it's kind of like the usual ska thing. And for us in the Latin American world, it's actually for cumbia. You know, and many other aspects. You know that shape, but you know really about the thirds and that are you constructing the chord over it. That's really important. So after that you have minor chords, that the minor chords have the 7th, the minor 7th or the major 7th with the same rule, okay? This is a minor 7. You have a third, the major third after the minor third. Okay, the third note from the tonic, it's always called the 5th. Again, you will always have the 5th over here. You have the tonic, the 3rd, and the 5th. And then you have the 7th, that is minor in this case, if you have a C minor 7. And for a C minor with major 7, you have that. Less common than the minor 7. And those, then you're understanding major minor and max 7 and 7 and minor 7 and minor major 7. You have 6 type of chords that you can add more if you want to add the 9th or add 11th, or other types of chords like the suspended 4th, or like many others. You know, there's people that also need to understand that when you have a chord with a slash and then a note, that's called a chord with the bass on a specific part, and that's what I'm doing in the charts that I write for the songs. I usually put, I don't know, an A, but with the bass in C sharp, and that is notated A/C sharp, for example. Many other types of chords that you can let me know, and we can go into how to play them in a shape over here in bass, and how to understand them really. Okay. I think this was not bad. let me know if I helped you a little bit. I know I tend to go for too much, but it might be helpful. Blah. Okay. Why haven't you been playing guitar recently? I'm a little bit swamped, I gotta say, with bass requests and things that I have to work. And after playing that much bass, I tend to just go into bass, really. But when I'm figuring out the harmony for the songs, I'm actually with the guitar. I'm usually with a guitar when I'm figuring out chords, and that's just on a thing of being accustomed maybe to do it, because doing chords in bass might be really interesting and really helpful. So figuring out chords, you can do it in bass, of course, note by note, but you can do it. Sorry. I don't understand that question. Okay, how do you tend to be on your E string? Do you use thicker? Yeah. How do you tune, probably, or not? I always hear people doing that, but you need to change the nuts. Oh, yeah. Okay, I think I got lucky with this instrument about tuning, because I don't know if it is actually an advantage, but this is a full body bass. You don't have a separation actually from neck and the body. It's just one piece of wood, really, except of course by the fretboard over here. But yeah, the difference, I think, of that construction gives me more sustain. That's a thing that I know, but maybe it helps me to get more a little bit more tension over here, and I can actually down tune to B and play a little bit. But it's hard. It's really hard, especially because you need to instantly begin to play over here to get more tension, because over here it's a mess, really. And I'm not using actually thicker strings when I'm tuning down to B, and you should really, because you're losing a lot of the sound, a lot of the fundamentals, really, when you're down tuning and the string is too floppy. But I can, and it actually works a little bit. If I do it, it adds a lot of complexity, because with more floppy strings or more down-tuned strings, you have more noise that you need to cover up. Okay, so when I was playing the Mudvayne thing, I was actually struggling a lot with the noise and many other things. But I'm really aware, and maybe it's really probable that most of the people that use a 4-string and down tune, they're having really thick strings. Okay, I don't know, maybe 50s or something more. I actually don't know that much about thickness. But yeah, it's all about because if you have more thick strings, you have more tension, and it will help you playing better. Okay. Oh, okay. Distortion is very common and not very expensive. Okay, someone is asking about songs, and I always say no place over here for that. It's just an empty comment, because I'm not going to play over here. The reason of that is just copyright. I'm sorry. I'm going back to Twitch. I think I'm going back to it because I liked it, to just being forced to play songs a little bit at night. And and I was doing it every day. So I'm going to go back to it, and then you can ask me about little things about songs. I'm not going to do it fully because you actually have to pay for that. Sorry. And I know it sounds shitty for me to say it, but a really detailed construction of the whole song takes a lot of time, okay, and a lot of effort, especially when I'm writing and transcribing and doing it properly, okay. So that's the whole thing, really. What kind of distortion did you use for the Motorhead Ace of Spades video? I actually don't remember. It's all digital, as I always say. I'm going into. I think I went for Amplitude. That's an cabinet emulator of guitar and bass, and I think I just put on a Marshall amp, but a Marshall guitar amp. I think I used, and I just turned the bass up and tried to play like that. I'm not quite sure about the rig from Lemmy, but I think it's something like that. I think he's using some kind of guitar amp. Maybe some of you know, I don't know. But it's a quite aggressive, and it sounds really like a guitar when you're playing it. About that, someone asked about power chords. And I think it's not much difference between playing them in a guitar, but I think for power chords on a bass, you always need to have this shape, not only the fifth, like here, because that will make you more susceptible to make undesired noises, unless you're muting this string. So I tend to go with a full fifth chord, with the tonic, the fifth, and again the octave. And I tend to go with this free finger, the middle finger. I place it on top over here, so I got a little bit of a mute, and I can play more strong. Okay. Important also to maintain good position for this. Okay, it's never trying to put your thumb over here. It's always with your thumb hidden behind the fretboard. Have you changed the pickups on the guitar, or is that original pickups? It's original. It says ABT, probably the brand. I was actually thinking about maybe changing them before going into a new bass. It may probably help, I don't know. But people don't believe me when I say I really like this instrument, and if it was for me, I probably never change it. I don't know. It gives me what I want. Maybe I got lucky, but I don't know. It gives me what I want if I treat it with good equipment. It has actually not a bad sound. Okay, Felipe Guzman. When talking about fifth, sixth, and all that, the octave is the same note higher or lower, right? What is a ninth or 11th? Really good question, man. About intervals. Again, yeah. Sixth, fifth, and all that are just intervals. We need to begin to name the things as they are. They are intervals, okay? The octave, it is this, and it is the same note, but in a higher register or in a lower register. The higher octave or the lower octave. okay? And the shape is the most common for us bassists, you know. And it covers a lot of illusion of making something more elaborate, but it's just really the octave. And yeah, that's the octave, the same note. If you have a C over here, it's a C over there. And this shape applied to anything will give you always the same note. That is a really interesting thing to understand, because that will help you to get the names of the notes right in most of the cases. Okay, maybe I don't know this note just by pressing it. Maybe I don't know, but I always go into knowing the octave of it, and I understand that this is a C, so that helped me to know this is a C. Okay, it's more of a bad trick, because you should just know instantly, okay, this is a B flat. But I tend to think about the octave. Okay, a G again, but I thought about the octave. Again, this I thought about this C. So it's a good thing. And what is the 9th or 11th? It's just when you're going over the octave, you don't have more intervals that the ones that you have between unison and octave. So what you're doing now in the 9th, 11th, and whatever, you're just repeating the same interval but an octave higher. Okay, so a 9th is the same as a major second from the higher octave. So if you have a C, you have an octave. The 9th over here is just a D. Okay, it's just the major second difference by a whole tone that makes the major second, but is this the same D but applied in the higher octave. Okay, but the thing that is interesting is that distance makes it totally different when applied to a chord. Okay, you're making it with a different color than just putting the second with an added second is different than a 9th chord. Okay, so there's other things to understand, especially for chords. When you have a 9 chord, you are implied to know that you have the 7th and the 9th. When you have an add 9 chord, you don't have the 7th. You just have the chord, the main 3 notes, and then the added 9th. Okay, that's a really important difference again. And the 11th is the same as the 4th, but in a higher octave. Okay, so you have 9th, the 11th. Okay, and you can think about this because you have 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and you have 4th. 4 in distance, so it's the 4th. It's an F. In case if you want a C 11th, add 11th, you have to add the 11th. But usually the 11th goes with other notes, the 9th or the 7th. And in bass, when you're going into more advanced chords, you don't have the opportunity to play all the notes. You need to forget about some of them. And the 5th is usually the most forgettable. Okay, the 5th, it's not coloring the chord itself. It's just giving more and more ground to build up, but it's not giving you the color really. Okay, because the 5th is always perfect. It's no difference between there's no minor 5th or major 5th. A 5th is always a 5th. Okay, so that's it. There's more ground to cover really, I really need that board. I'm going to think about buying probably one. I don't know. So we can write something up, really, more in a theory-wise thing. But with the instrument, we can all understand, really, especially with a stringed instrument. Of course, with a piano would be even easier, probably. People tend to use piano for everything because you have all the notes in the same place. Okay, here you have repeated notes and notes that you need to get into it, and shapes that you need to understand. Of course, with piano, you also need shapes. With everything, you need it. With every instrument. Okay. How to not have problem with copyright, says Mateo. It's impossible, man. I have problems with it, but it's not problems in matters of striking. I have a really healthy channel in the matter that I don't have any strikes, but monetization is really compromised. I don't have monetization of almost 100% of the videos that I do, except for the bass only things, and actually the bass only sometimes gets picked up by the algorithm, and I have copyright for things that it's just my instrument. That's really funny. And maybe the reason I don't care about that much is because of Patreon. Patreon helped me in getting all of this. If it weren't by that, I was just lost, really, because I get about probably 200 or maybe 100, just $150 a month from YouTube itself, and that's not much for anything. If you want to live with that money. So Patreon helped me, of course, and I encourage you to use it if you want to support me and to use it as a platform for your creations. But yeah, I don't know any tricks or anything, and I'm not willing to use any tricks because I want the whole song to be as it is. But I think that's funny because I think fair use involves educational purpose. When you're trying to do something for educational purpose, you should have at least not being deleted, not having the video deleted, and that's the only thing that I care in the most cases. And some videos are deleted completely, and I don't share that because it's just for learning purposes. Okay, I'm not replicating the thing. I don't know if it comes into monetization. I'm not that expert on legal things, but honestly, I think I should get what I deserve in a way, because it's a teaching aspect. As long as I'm putting the video of the tablature and I'm expressing that it is educational, I'm doing that, really. Yeah, and the videos got blocked in smartphones all the time. Most of the videos you can't see in devices, and that's bad, of course. You won't get monetized even if you want to. You can check in the monetized thing and you will get a strike about copyright really soon. Okay, it's just programs that detect the signal, I think. So many people always pitch it down or pitching up or doing some other things that I don't want to do, because it destroys the purpose of having the song complete. So I always understood that, and that's why I went into other types of funding for this, because I knew that artists will never give out the opportunity of that for me. Okay, and maybe I understand it in a way. Of course, you don't want your music to be out without you gaining something, but no, I don't really share it. If I ever have some music, I don't care. You can download it in fucking Pirate Bay. I don't care really. Um, but some people care. I don't know. So I went for Patreon, and Patreon is great, man. You all should go to Patreon. um, okay, I don't think how much time we have on this. I started about an hour ago, so it's probably time to go. And I don't see much more questions, so I tend to see more questions in the first minutes, and people don't ask them again, probably because I just went into one. Sorry about that. I'm doing my best to clarify some things that I think are best for any of us. But we have some topics that we covered, and I like them, so it might be helpful for you. Yeah, you can tag anything as educational, but you will always get blocked. Really, it's not a condition. I come to figure out that you can't fight some of the system in that case. But if you noticed, if you watch H3H3, and you notice the great struggle that they had about fair use, that may cover some ground about understanding more the rights of creators on fair use. I like that. Okay, how to memorize notes on the fretboard? I'm terrible at it. I was just talking about it. I recommend you to go over this stream again and try to pay a lot of attention on intervals. Intervals will give you a lot of understanding of how to memorize your notes. But this is the process. First, memorize the notes the open notes, okay? E, A, D, G, G, D, A, E. Backwards and whatever you can order, okay? E, D, A, G. Understanding that will give you the grounds to go into all the notes, and then understand that in the 12th fret you have the same E, A, D, G, and then these little dots will help you in understanding all of those things, okay? The 5th fret with a dot will it's a good example to understand those 4 notes, and then you have another type of a kind of like an axis on which to go into it, kind of like a safeguard. I don't know. You have a E, and then on here on the 5th fret you have an A, you have a D, you have a G, you have a C. Okay, and those things you can understand, and then you have a little bit of knowledge. But after that, intervals will be really important. As I said, if you know this is an octave, then you have an A here and you have the other A over here, and you can go and complete a lot of the unknown things knowing intervals. Okay, knowing this is an octave, this is a 5th, a 4th, and then the thirds and the other things. So go into intervals, try to memorize them, to understand them, and then apply them to bass. Okay, I'm going to probably for next week cover more ground on intervals, probably in some video or whatever, for you to understand that intervals are really fixed in bass. So if you know one, you know if you know one shape, you know all of them, and that's a good tool. Okay, I think this is enough for today. So I'll remind you of going into Facebook for the next stream to know when it comes. And I don't know. Try to go into all the socials so you can go more into the world of cover solutions, I guess. But yes, thanks everyone for being here and trying to give nice questions and questions that can help all of us really. Consider being a patron if you want this to continue really. And I'll see you with more covers really soon. So goodbye.